live. Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, wherever you're joining from. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today. We're really looking forward to our presentation. And we have our fabulous presenter today, Heidi Walters from Visit North Carolina. She is the Senior Director of Partner and Industry Relations. So welcome, Heidi. We're excited to have you here.
Thank you.
And we have Laura Hernandez as well, who is the Travel South USA Canada rep. So we're going to play a brief video just to kind of kick things off, and then I'll pass it over to Heidi. All right. Really makes me want to go enjoy the mountains to the coast, as the title of the webinar says. So I'll pass things over to you, Heidi. You have the floor.
Great. Thank you. Thanks. It's wonderful to be with you and enjoying sharing some of our beautiful North Carolina weather here today. We are great fans of our Canadian visitors, so I'm thrilled to be able to present to you today. Excuse me. And from here, I'm going to take us on a little tour. So you can go to the next slide, please. I know this is a crazy busy map. But as most Canadians drive to North Carolina or drive through North Carolina, we just want to show you how many roads and ways they can get off of the highway. So please have your visitors, if they're headed to South Carolina or Florida, just get off and spend a little bit of time in North Carolina. I think you'd find some wonderful things that maybe you haven't seen before. And so we're going to start at the coast. So on the next slide, we'll see a picture of one of our lighthouses. And our coastline is 300 miles of barrier islands and quaint waterfront towns and so many activities. But just to name a few of the beaches, there's the Outer Banks in Currituck, which is known as the Northern Outer Banks. This is where the Wright brothers took the first flight. You can see some wild horses, which I'll have a picture of it shortly. And then we have our sounds, the Albemarle and Pamlico Sound, where if you don't want the ocean water, you want a little calmer water, this is a great place to kayak and to sail, fish, all kinds of things. And then we have our Crystal Coast, which are south-facing beaches, so they're a little calmer than the eastern-facing beaches. Great small towns. Cape Lookout National Seashore. We have 2 national seashores on the coast, which are really the equivalent of a national park. They just happen to be on the shore. So it's really good for diving, for migratory birds, things like that. Wilmington is probably one of the largest cities on our coast and is home to a lot of movie and TV production. You may have heard of a Netflix show called The Outer Banks. It is filmed in and around the Outer Banks and in Wilmington. But it also has a great history too. You can tour one of our battleships there and has 3 wonderful beaches, Curry Beach, Wrightsville Beach, and Carolina Beach. And then on the next slide, you'll see another lighthouse. So we have a total of 7 lighthouses that dot the shoreline. And these used to protect sailors so they would know where they were and if it was safe enough to come closer to the shore. But now they're mostly owned by the National Park Service, and you can climb these lighthouses and just get spectacular views of just how fragile some of these barrier islands are. And also here is the Wright Brothers Memorial. So you can visit where the Wright brothers took the first motorized flight, which thankfully they did, because now we all have jobs because of that. So you can visit that and just see the story and what they had to go through over 100 years ago. And then on the next slide, we have just a great picture of our dune lines. And so many of our beaches you can drive on if you have a 4x4 and you let the air out of your tires, that kind of thing. But it's wonderful, and it's easy to enjoy just the calmness and the beauty of these fragile barrier islands. The next slide is a picture of the Mustangs that I was speaking about. So these wild horses have lived on our coastline for more than 500 years. They came over with the Spanish explorers. And when these Spanish explorers' ships wrecked off of the Outer Banks, the horses swam ashore. And ever since then, they have lived off the land. They are completely wild. They do live off the land. And there are excursions you can take to go out and see these wild horses. And it's quite spectacular. We just ask that you always stay more than 50 feet away from them because they are wild. And then on the next slide is a picture of downtown Wilmington, which I talked about. It has a great little, it's a small town colonial feel to it. It's similar to Charleston, South Carolina, if you're familiar with that. But again, movie tours you can take. You can see where they filmed, the coffee shop for One Tree Hill or Dawson's Creek or those kinds of things. And also just a really good food scene, great seafood here. And speaking of things that live in the ocean, we also have one of the most acclaimed sea turtle rescues here. It is one of the biggest ones on the east coast of the U.S., and it's the Karen Beasley Sea Turtle Hospital. And I tell you what, if you have never been out to see sea turtles in one of these kind of habitats, they are amazing. They have such big personalities that it's just worth it to go and hear the stories about these sea turtles. So next, we're going to keep moving across the state, and we're going to go into what we call our Piedmont. And this is just the area basically between I-95 and I-77 is sort of what we call our Piedmont. This happens to be home to our larger cities. So Charlotte, Raleigh, Greensboro, Durham, all within what we call the Piedmont. So it's sort of the heart of it. It's great for winery visits, great food scene. Golf is very big. We'll talk a little bit about that. But Raleigh and Durham are part of the research triangle. So there's a lot of industry here as well, but it's known for art and just so many wonderful little tasty treats and places to explore. Lots of parks within these cities as well. Charlotte is home to NASCAR motorsports too. So the NASCAR Hall of Fame is there, which is a very interactive museum. I'm not a huge NASCAR fan, but I have to tell you, I think that museum is really, really neat. It's very interactive. You can take home your memories on a card that will relive all of what you did at the NASCAR Hall of Fame. You can test the rest of your family at a pit crew challenge even. So between that and the NASCAR Motor Speedway, and then 90% of the race teams live in that area. So if any of your clients are motor enthusiasts, it's just a great experience to go and visit these places. It's also home to the U.S. National Whitewater Center. The Whitewater Center is where I think the Canadian team still trains there too. The U.S. and Canadian whitewater kayak Olympic teams train there, but it is open to the public. It is a great man-made whitewater center, but it also, for one price, you get in, you can do all the whitewater rafting, but it's like a big natural amusement park. So you can go zip lining and stand-up paddleboarding, kayaking, all kinds of things. They've got a climbing wall that you fall back into the water. Lots of great fun things. We can move to the next slide, please. And so here's just some pictures. So we've got up at the top, we have Charlotte, which is the #2 banking center in the country. So a lot of great things happening there, NBA, NFL. And then the picture next to that is golf. we are home to Pinehurst Resort, which is the home of American golf. So if golf is on your list, then we've got it covered between here, and then there's some places on our coast that have great golf as well, and in the mountains. And then the picture just below the golf is of Wally's Service Station, and that is in Mount Airy, which is off I-77. And if any of you were old enough to remember the Andy Griffith Show, this is the town that was made famous in that. It was depicted as Mayberry, so it's called Mount Airy. And then our next slide shows just some cool things to do in the Triangle area. So on the left side is just music, and we've got great music all over the state. Really wonderful musicians have come from North Carolina, and some great venues that you can see music any day of the week. And then next to that is our North Carolina Museum of Art. And this picture in particular is of the Rodin exhibit. On the outside, we also have a Rodin exhibit on the inside. So it has some wonderful, wonderful things, and it's free. Almost all the museums here in the state are free, which is a great point. So now let's head over to the mountains. And in our mountains, we sit with the Blue Ridge and the Smoky Mountains as part of the Appalachian Mountains. And they have so many quaint little small towns that are just wonderful places to stop, and great culinary delights along the way. Asheville and the foothills are really popular. I'm sure you've all heard of Asheville, and we will talk a little bit about that. But just around there, there are wonderful places there where you can see elk, you can hear the elk bugling, you can see all kinds of wildlife. And some of the places were hit by Hurricane Helene. So I will talk a little bit about what may be closed and what may be open. But Chimney Rock State Park is one of our stellar state parks. We have 41 great state parks, but Chimney Rock is very well known, but it is currently closed and could possibly be closed through the end of 2025. But I'll tell you how to keep up on what's open and what's not, but really the majority of things are back open. There are a few things that are closed. And then in the high country, which is the northern part, there's the Blue Ridge Parkway. But some places on the parkway are open. They just had a lot of mudslides, so they are having to shore up the mountains again to rebuild the roads in some places. But there's lots and lots of information about how you can find out. So you can either go to the National Park website and just put in whatever park you're looking for. It will give you the updated information on the parkway, on Great Smoky Mountain National Park, on any other parks that you think may have been affected. Even on the Tennessee side, it'll tell you that. And then visitnc.com. At our website, we also have a banner at the top that will tell you which places are green, yellow, or red. So please use those resources as you plan trips for folks. And then on the next slide, we can talk a little bit about some of the activities we have. So we have so many wonderful things to do and so many wonderful experiences. But if you are driving on a motorcycle or even a sports car, the Tail of the Dragon and the Cherrahola Skyway are two that you're really, really going to want to see because they are just fabulous. Tail of the Dragon has over 100 hairpin turns in just like 11 miles. It's crazy, but you have to do it once. But it's easy to get here because we have, the nonstop flights. We've got welcome centers. We've got 9 welcome centers. Each entrance of our state has a welcome center. These people who work at these welcome centers know more than I will ever know after 20 years here. They are just so knowledgeable and so helpful. And then we also have great Amtrak service and 10 airports. And we can keep going, and I'll talk a little bit more about some mountain places. So the picture on the left here is Grandfather Mountain. And Grandfather Mountain was privately owned for a long time by the McCall family. And he was actually a photographer for National Geographic magazine, bought this mountain and really transformed it. It has some of the only places in the world that you can find some of this flora and fauna. It is known as a UNESCO environmental biosphere site. So it's just really, really beautiful. You can hike all up around in there, or you can just go to the visitor center. They also have some wildlife that they have rescued and rehabilitated there at the park. And it was also featured in Forrest Gump. So during his big run, he ran down Grandfather Mountain. And then on the right side is really the showpiece of the mountains. This is Biltmore Estate, and this was built at the turn of the century by the Vanderbilt family as one of their summer homes. And it has 250 rooms, which you can tour. And it also has a winery on the estate, has 2 hotels, a very nice 4-star hotel, and one of the nicest 3-star hotels you're ever going to see. And there's lots of activities there, beautiful gardens. It's a great place to visit. And it's a great place if you want to spend a few days in the mountains. You can sort of hub and spoke from that Asheville area. Biltmore is only about a mile from downtown Asheville, which is a very kind of hip, eclectic town with no chain restaurants or chain stores in the downtown area. It's all local artisans and local chefs. So definitely encourage folks to go there. And then if we go to the next slide, there's some more things to do. And a lot of this is going to be in our lower mountains, but we do have great fly fishing, great whitewater rafting, and over 360 waterfalls in the state. And many of these you can see from the road, or they're short paved hikes out to them, or some of them are a bit longer too. But either way, it's just great for outdoor adventure. We are known for natural beauty and outdoor adventure. So with that, I know it was a short presentation, but I think I packed a lot into it. So this is me. And if you have any questions or need any information, I am always here. Oh, and just wanted to let you know, it's about an 11-hour drive, either from Montreal to one side of the state, or 11 from Toronto to the other side of the state. And the best time to come and visit us is really anytime, but spring and fall are probably my favorites, because we are the number 5th most visited state for domestic tourism. So in the summer, we get pretty busy from all of the places around us, but spring and fall are just spectacular here. So anyway, thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Heidi. I saw in some of those pictures, it looked like do you get the changing leaves in fall?
Oh yeah, we have all 4 seasons here.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Cecilia in the chat said Salem has been of more interest lately.
Oh,
here.
Winston-Salem? Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah. It's a great little town, settled by the Moravians several hundred years ago. And so they have a great art scene in Winston-Salem.
I don't see any more questions in the chat right now. We'll let you go and have a great rest of your day. Take care.
Great. Thanks to you and Baxter Media. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.